What is happening at Ilus International? What's up investors, and welcome back to the channel. A lot has gone on at Ilus over the past week, but today they have just dropped some good news. Ilus is expanding and hiring an additional 46 employees to deal with the upcoming projects. So I will look at this news and the impact that this will have on the company. I will also look at the impact of a recent short report on the share price, and I will examine how Ilus is planning to break into the US market. If you've been following my channel over the past few months, you will know that I've been covering Ilus International since this was just 5 cents. So before we get into the video, I would greatly appreciate if you could smash that like button. It takes a lot of time to do this research and make these videos. It literally costs nothing to hit that like button, but it helps me out so much. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any new content like this. Are you a long-time investor or have you recently bought into Ilus? And if so, what price target do you have? Drop a comment down below and let me know what you think of Ilus International. I want to point out that I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. Now let's dive straight into the latest developments. So BCD Fire secures a new contract valued at $1 million and hires 46 new staff. Ilus has already completed 4 acquisitions in 2021. One of these was BCD Fire back in April. BCD Fire was already awarded 3 contracts in the third quarter of 2021 valued at $1.5 million, but the company has just been awarded a $1 million contract for the second phase of the Burj 2020 project. This is something that I spoke about in a previous video back in June, when I spoke about them getting the contract for phase 1. These are the kind of contracts that can lead into further contracts. This might only be for 1 million, but this is a huge deal. At over 2,000 feet high and 115 floors, this will be the world's tallest commercial tower when it's completed. The BCD team commenced work on the first phase of this project during the third quarter of 2021, with the contract value for this phase sitting at just under $1 million. The team has now been awarded the next phase valued at $1 million. To put this in perspective, let's look back at the financial statements of Ilus. In Q2, from April to the end of June, Ilus recorded 2.8 million in revenue. This one contract is more than 1/3 of the previous quarter's revenue. And if we go back further to Q1, from January to March, Ilus recorded just 500,000 of revenue. This contract so far has been worth over $2 million to Ilus. That is 4 times their Q1 revenue. So these contracts are a big deal, but it also shows the level of progress that they are making and the scale of growth that the company is achieving. To complete this project, as well as upcoming projects, which the company expects to be awarded, BCD Fire is in the process of hiring an additional 45 technicians and a salesperson. The additional 45 technicians will put the company in a position to apply for the lucrative A-level license for the supply, installation and maintenance of fire protection systems in residential, industrial and oil field facilities in the United Arab Emirates. Once this license is granted, BCD Fire will be able to complete larger projects on multiple sites simultaneously, as there will be no limitation on the size of the project they can be awarded. So this is huge news in my opinion. I just spoke about the level of growth, but getting this license will allow them to compete larger contracts on multiple sites simultaneously without limitations on what they can be awarded. And from what JP Backwell has said here, it sounds like there is no shortage of contracts that Ilus can compete to get. Obtaining the A-level license will rocket this acquisition to a whole new level. There has been overwhelming interest from regional fire safety training companies in our new virtual reality fire extinguisher training courses, which are being launched this month. The BCD Fire pipeline is so strong that it really is just about scaling up the business quick enough to take on the projects that are lined up. They are barely scratching the surface of BCD Fire's potential. This sounds fantastic. They are trying to scale up the company quick enough to take on the projects, which tells me that we can expect a hell of a lot more over the coming months. As of today, Ilus just closed out its best quarter yet and will release an update on this in the coming week or so. The Firebug pipeline is looking particularly promising for the fourth quarter, and this article ends with Nick Link thanking the Ilus family for our ongoing support. Now I can't wait to see what the Q3 report looks like, but let's just consider that the contracts that are mentioned here from BCD Fire alone amount to over 2.5 million since June. 1.5 million of that will be recorded in the Q3 report, along with revenues from the other companies, which I think will mean another significant quarterly revenue increase. Now, if you aren't fully up to date with Ilus this week, the company was the subject of a short report just a few days ago. So stick around for a few minutes and I'll give you my thoughts on this. But first, let's look at some more positive PR from this week. On Tuesday, Ilus officially agreed the purchase of a profitable US-based firefighting equipment distributor which holds multiple exclusive distribution contracts for the sale and servicing of some of the world's largest firefighting equipment brands, and has a current annual turnover of over $3 million. I spoke about the letter of intent regarding this in a previous video, so it's good to see that this has been finalised now. Ilus will announce the company name and important details such as the exclusive distributed product names and contracts in a follow-up press release once all approvals are in place. So I look forward to that. This acquisition is part of Ilus' strategic expansion plan. They determined that it was a priority to enter the US market by acquiring an established distribution model for its existing products. As we can see here, the company's focus was on the completion of this acquisition first in its line of upcoming acquisitions. Although they can't name the company, it is a well-known industry name and has been operating for nearly 20 years. The company has exclusive distribution contracts in place for the world's largest hydraulic rescue equipment brand, one of the world's largest brands of rescue tools and rescue support equipment, and for a global leader in turnout gear. What is important here is that they have exclusive distribution contracts, and immediate plans for the acquisition by Ilus include a new distribution warehouse which will be in the region of 15,000 square feet. This fits in perfectly with its strategy for entering the US market. Ilus is using a triple-pronged objective of acquiring routes to market for its existing products, acquiring market knowledge, and acquiring manufacturing capabilities. Now, I'm skipping through a lot of this press release, so if you want to have a read, check out the link in the description. To put into perspective the size of the addressable market here, the US fire and rescue equipment industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry that is growing at nearly 10% annually. Ilus is convinced that the acquisition harbours extraordinary growth potential for its existing technology and for the distribution of new technologies. The company has a strong network of existing customers and contracts, which will prove extremely valuable when it comes to rolling out existing Ilus products across the US. And Nick Link has said the additional US acquisitions are well underway and they should fall in line smoothly following this highest priority acquisition. We are convinced that our strategy for the acquisition of existing US distribution and manufacturing capability, along with the existing revenue of these companies generate, and their immense growth potential will prove incredibly successful for Ilus. Last week, Ilus was hit with a short report written by Gold Panda on Seeking Alpha. Gold Panda has a few problems, but is mainly concerned with the share structure and the company's links to GPL Ventures, so let's take a look at this. So far in 2021, Gold Panda has written bearish articles on more than 20 OTC companies that seem to have attracted significant retail investor interest. So let's take a look at Gold Panda's record. So first we have Natural Health. This stock is actually up from the time of Gold Panda's article. Next we have OfferPad Solutions, which was written on September 21st. OfferPad is down significantly, but this article was written while this was dropping, after gaining more than 100% in just 3 days. So I don't see any value in this article. And then finally we'll see Camber Energy looks overvalued based on fundamentals. This was written on September 17th. This stock is up over 300% this month and over 100% since this article was written. So Gold Panda does not have a good record in my opinion. Now let's get into the article. Panda starts by pointing out that the company makes a good gross profit, but that the revenue is very low. We already know this. Ilus is still at a very early stage. Gold Panda's real problem is here. Things get really bad when you read about the 60 million Class D preferred shares that can be converted into 500 common shares each. If all of these shares get converted, this would increase the number of common shares outstanding by over 30 billion shares. Assuming all Series D shares are converted, the company would be valued at $11.4 billion. Now it's true that this could be a real problem if all of these shares were to be converted, but Gold Panda has conveniently left out who owns these shares. They have no problem pointing out GPL's share ownership when they are pointing towards GPL's fraud, but they have deliberately left out the fact that all of these Preference D shares are owned by Nick Link himself, and he has spoken about this before, saying that they will never be sold. I actually think that this is quite likely that at some point Nick Link might retire a large portion of these shares. That is just my opinion, but can you imagine how positively that press release would be seen by Ilus shareholders? And then the Panda points to, in August, the SEC charged GPL Ventures, its CEO, and 6 other entities and individuals with participating in a penny stock fraud scheme. The reaction from Ilus was that this was actually a good development. Well, let's look at this from Ilus' point of view. Are they involved or named in this fraud? No. Are they affected in a negative way? Again, no. Ilus have simply pointed to the fact that the effect of this is not negative and could potentially see upside for Ilus. And finally, the main reason behind the share volume and price increases has been retail investor interest, because Ilus is very active on Twitter. I follow Ilus on Twitter. Yes, they are active, but not excessively, to be honest. And then Panda points to some of the YouTube channels covering Ilus, but fails to mention me. Maybe my 5,900 subscribers is not enough for me to get a mention in this article, so help me out and hit that subscribe button. 83% of my viewers in the past 28 days are still unsubscribed, and 90% over the lifetime of the channel. My goal is to hit 7,000 subscribers before the end of October. Help me make it happen. Looking at the charts over the past few weeks, we can see here some lines that I drew from my previous video, where I said that this had just broke through resistance and I expected a big run. The very next trading day, this ran from 27 cents to over 41 cents. And back here in August, I predicted the same thing. And it happened the very next trading day too, going from 5 cents to over 8.5 cents. Feel free to check out these 2 videos if you don't believe me. This stock made huge gains the very next day after both videos. So over the past week, we can see that Ilus has been moving in a general downward direction, going from heights of over 45 cents down as low as 27 cents on Thursday, before quickly recovering, and has finished the week with a 3% gain on Friday at 34 cents. Now what's interesting here is that we can see the formation of this wedge, which I believe can be seen as an indication of a breakout upward movement in the coming days. Remember that a good Friday tends to lead to a good Monday, and it was a very good Friday at Ilus. Ilus hit a low point on the day of 30 cents before gaining more than 10% to finish at 34 cents. So I think that Monday will see more gains, especially if Ilus release some more good news over the weekend, which I think might just happen. So guys, that brings us to the end of the video. Before I give you my final thoughts, if you've watched all the way through, then hit that like button. It helps the channel out a lot. And if you're new, remember to hit the subscribe button and bell notification. Follow me on Twitter and join the Facebook group. All links in the description. So what do I think? As you know already, this is a stock that I've been covering for over 6 months now, and I'm constantly amazed by the progress that they are making. And to be honest, I'm a little disappointed not to be mentioned in the Seeking Alpha article, but I'll get over that. Over the past 6 months, this stock has been volatile, but has moved in a range between 4 cents up to its all-time high of 48 cents. After a run like that, the stock was always going to attract some short seller articles. It always happens, and that dip was always going to happen given the level of attention that Ilus was getting. Over the past few months, they have made huge progress with things that I have not spoke about in this video, such as the partnerships with VJ and Millennium that we spoke about in previous videos, as well as potential government contracts in Europe which could be game-changing for Ilus. They have made acquisitions and are in the process of many more. They are operating in the United States now, but also all over the world, making this a truly global company. So although the revenues are still low, the market cap of around $400 million still gives scope for gains. But this is just my opinion, and if anyone is thinking about buying this stock, I encourage you to do your own research. As I said before, I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. Thanks for watching the video. What are your thoughts on Ilus? What price did you buy it and how high do you think this will go? Leave a comment down below and I'll catch you in the next update.